Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Adoption Happy Hour brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents. And we're so glad to see so many of you here with us this evening. Jennifer's on the road a little bit this evening. She won't be joining us, but I'm Marcie Keithley, your host, along with Beth Story in the Zoom room. So we're just excited to have so many of you here. We had been off for a little bit. A lot of us have been vacationing with our families and doing some other things. So we're glad to get back into our regular schedule, and we're so excited for this evening's guest. So before we get started, we've got some announcements and some disclosures. We want to remind everyone that this is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and may be shared in our private happy hour group on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So if you don't follow us on Facebook, please do so. It's Adoption Happy Hour. That's where Lorrah's replay will be posted. Please remain on mute, raise your hand on screen or the virtual hand to be recognized. You may post your questions or comments in the chat. If you're experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thought, please contact a licensed professional or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline by dialing 988. Beth, what else we got?
Just a reminder here about our regular programming. Happy Hour comes to you the first and the third Friday of each month. We have two other programs. Dr. Joyce's Putting Yourself Together After Reunion. That group was supposed to meet this week, and Dr. Joyce was very under the weather, so we will be up next Tuesday. If you registered before, you are already registered for the next one, so there's no need for you to do anything. If you haven't registered, you should still be able to get in on that. And then our other support group, hosted by Amy Seek, is First Families, Birth Parents Journeying Together. And they meet the second Thursday of the month, and they will be up October 10th again. So you will want to, as Marcie said, follow us on Facebook. And once you start coming to things, you're going to get the invites in your email all the time. And so you shouldn't miss anything that's going on. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Beth. I appreciate it. Well, at this time, I would like to welcome our guest, Lorah Gerald. She's been on our calendar, watching her on a calendar for quite some time, and we were fortunate enough to for her to pencil us in and show up tonight for happy hour. So we're really excited that you're here with us this evening. Before I turn it over to you, though, I would like to share with all of you just a little bit about her for those of you that don't know. She is a baby scoop era, same race, domestic, pre-row adoptee. She's a certified trauma-informed, you're going to have to pronounce that.
Kundalini.
Like she said, yoga instructor and Reiki master. Along with her work as a yoga instructor, she is an adoptee advocate. She leads the Adoptees Connect Tulsa group and started the Adoptee and MPE private group. The Adopted correct?
Chameleons.
Chameleons.
It's just the plural of mine.
Chameleons, where she leads an art therapy group and body doubling group monthly. She also works on the steering and implementation committee in Oklahoma for those affected by adoption and foster care. She works with people in adoption and foster care agencies, adoptive parents, social workers, and therapists to get better mental health care for adoptees and former foster youth in her state. She shares her story on podcasts, blogs, articles, and social media as the Adopted Chameleon. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. She has lived with her lived experience and years of research. She works to help us all be the best versions of ourselves. When we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Welcome, Lorah.
Thank you. And that was lovely. Thank you. Oh, so how's everybody doing tonight? We're feeling good? Great. So good to see you all. I'm excited to be here. Well, I wanted to just kind of start off. We're at the beginning. When Marcie and I were talking about this, she was like, well, what do you want to talk about? And I said, well, let's just go back to when I became the chameleon and how I transformed into a butterfly, because that's how I talk about it. Is I was a chameleon. I was blending in, I was surviving, changing colors, just doing what I needed to do to fit in where I wasn't sure that I belonged. So I became a chameleon, and I thought that I actually made that term up. Silly me, I did not. In 2019, when I started attending groups like this, I realized that a lot of adoptees use the same language, and chameleon was used in that group. So I was like, well, I'd already started with the adopted chameleon, but there it was. And I heard other adoptees speaking my language, like baby scoop era. I'm going to share the screen now and show you some pictures. There, and present. So the baby scoop era. This is me right here and my adopted parents. The baby scoop era, for those that don't know, was a period after World War II till about the mid-20s when millions of families were separated, often by force, a lot of coercion. It was basically us deciding as a society who was worthy to be a mother. It was not only in the United States, it was around the world. This scoop went on everywhere. Some countries have actually, in the past several years, and Australia several years ago, have started making apologies to mothers and adopted people. Some have actually talked about reparations. So this is just coming out in the last several years, but there were approximately 4 million mothers and babies separated at that time, and 2 million during the 1960s. So with that came the blank slate. A lot of us have heard that, right? We've all been called a blank slate. Babies don't know, when in fact, that's when their neural capacity is the most active, is when they're babies, because they are sponges. They're taking everything in. So we're actually more neuroactive in those first 5 years than we are like right now in our older years. So I want to point out my face. I want us to talk about perspective. Look at my face and then look at my parents' face. We're kind of having a different experience here, aren't we? Most people would just look at that picture and go, oh, look, it's a family. Domestic, same race. It's just a family. They wouldn't think anything. And that's what I did too. Because of the blank slate theory and people not acknowledging preverbal trauma and relinquishment trauma with babies and their mothers, both, this became, no one would ever talk about this. And it wasn't because my adopted parents didn't love me. It was because that was a false narrative. And people didn't have as much information back then. So a lot of this was unintentional. People did not know. You don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? So nowadays we know now. We all know. But this, again, was just a picture that I used to look at and never think anything of it also, because even though I myself had questions and longings and just wasn't really sure how I felt a lot of the times, it was made normal. So you just bury it, right? You just go, oh, well, I'm crazy, until you get into a group of adoptees or people that have come out of the fog, which we'll talk about. And you hear things that you've only thought in your own mind. And you're like, wow, I'm not crazy. These people are actually speaking my language. And that comes with a cost. I'm going to lead up to that. While I was going through some of my archives and wanted to talk about the baby scoop era just so that people do know what it is, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And 5 years ago, I only figured this out 5 years ago. So these were a couple of quotes that I had used in posts as the Adopted Chameleon on social media. And I wanted to put the perspective and juxtaposition together here for you so you could see it. One is from the book, American Baby, Gabriel Glazer. This came out in 21. So this post was from 1921. And she's talking about the baby scoop era. So I'm just going to read this. As I dug into archives and interviewed scores of birth mothers and adoptees, I came to understand the dynamics behind these decades of entrenched secrecy. I realized that the way the United States dealt with unplanned babies in the decades after World War II, when abortion was illegal, contraception was forbidden, even for married couples, and discussions of sex and reproduction was taboo, revealed a great deal about this country. Again and again, the nation's powerful religious and political institutions collaborated to control women's lives and the destinies of babies born out of wedlock. Today, it is socially acceptable for women and men to raise children on their own, but for many adoptees and their birth mothers, the shame lingers. The skewed principles of the past remain in place, and the conflict about whose right deserves protection rages on. And that's the book. It's a good book. It came out in 2021. That same year that was written, this in the corner down here was on adoption.com. And it doesn't sound like they're in 2021 to me. It says, if you've chosen a closed adoption, you can always have an adoption reunion once your child is an adult. You can also take time to reflect and focus on what you want to do with your life, like career goals, educational endeavors, travel destinations, and anything else you can think of. Those two came out in the same year. And I just wanted us to look at that perspective, that people don't know what they don't know. And if they're only being told that they can go travel, your baby's going to be fine. There's not going to be any problem for you or the baby. They're not getting all of the information. And so that's why myself and many others talk about this now. It's not to shame people more. It's so that shame dies, because shame dies when we can talk in safe spaces, right? So I just wanted you all to see that, because I thought that was really strange when I went back through a lot of my old posts. And this one just stuck out because it was like one after the other and in the same year. So people are still getting information like this. It doesn't happen as often. We have made strides in 3 years, which sometimes feels like 50, I know, to a lot of us. But yeah, this has changed. So I'm going to stop share just for a second here, because I want to take a moment. I am going to talk about coming out of the fog and identity. And I just want to take a moment to make sure everybody's going to be okay. So we may want to just take a breath. Just inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Drop your shoulders down. Let's just take a moment, check in with ourselves. Are we all doing okay? Does anybody have like a question right now before I go on? Okay. Well, then oh, you do. Hey, how are you doing?
I do. Hi. With the baby scoop, does it mean that the baby was taken from the mother that she didn't really want to lose the baby? Because like in my case, my mother, I was the youngest of 4. She had already adopted out others. And so I was just the product of an affair with a married man. And so it's in that time frame that you're talking about, but is that classed as a baby scoop? Because to me, a baby scoop is that the mother didn't really want to let go of the baby, whereas with my mother, I think she might have, thrown me away. It's what it feels like. So is that still classed as baby scoop in that term? Thanks.
It is, because I'm going to get into this, but my birth mother never spoke to me. Now, the shame of the time, and they were told to literally forget about us. So sometimes shame never dies, and people are unwilling or unable to speak about things. So yes, we were very much baby scoop era adoptees, because at the time they were victims also. Women, depending upon what part of the scoop they were in, they might not have been able to get credit cards, buy a house on their own. There were just limitations for women at that time, and their church and their community often would ostracize them if they were to, if they would have shown up being unwed and pregnant. They would have had no support from their family. But yes, sometimes some women don't want children, but it's a very small amount, statistically speaking, for the research that's been done. Most people that give birth after carrying a child for 9 months want that child, and the child is become part of them on a cellular level. So we know that after a mother gives birth, the cells of the child are in her brain forever. So we are bonded in every aspect. That's even for surrogates too, because the baby bonds with the person that is carrying them. They know their smells, their heartbeat, their biology, because they're part of it. So yes, regardless of the outcome, we're in that
even
era.
if the baby wasn't wanted by the mother, it's still classed in the baby scoop era because it was in the late 50s and 60s, even if the mother did it for whatever reason. I mean, some mothers couldn't, but others wouldn't, let's put it that way. So those ones that wouldn't, didn't want the child, definitely did not want the child, definitely. I mean, she's told me. But I'm just trying to get clarity. Is that still baby scoop, even though she wasn't one of the mothers where the baby was taken without the mother really wanting to have that happen?
She still falls into that time frame.
And we do too, the adoptees.
Yes, we fall into it, and the mothers fall into it both. Yes. That's why a lot of the countries are now apologizing, because many were forced. I mean, just flat out had no option. I mean, and some people were even told that their baby died. I mean, they were literally stolen. So that happened a lot back then. So, yeah. And now I'm going to talk about that loss of identity with closed adoption, because when you aren't allowed to know anything about your biology, we start making up things. As Betty Jean Lipton says, the ghost kingdom, right? A lot of you all probably heard of the ghost kingdom. It's when you adoptees, we don't know who our family is. So we start making up people. Like in my time, I like to watch Bewitched. And I wanted Samantha as my mother. So she was my mother because I didn't know who my mother was. So why not Samantha? She was awesome. She can make my wishes come true, right? So it might not have been a character on TV or anything like that, but sometimes we wished. So let me go on to the next screen here and start sharing again. This was a quote that I wrote, I believe this was 2019, when I first started coming out of the fog and I was searching for my identity, and I found this. So let me share screen here. So I found a blog by Father Tom Brosnan, and it was titled, he wrote this in 2009. So this was 10 years before I found it. And it's called Coming of Age. The source is here at the bottom. Coming of Age Towards a Spirituality of Adoption. And this is what he wrote in this blog about identity. The American Jesuit John Courtney Murray, considered by many one of the greatest Catholic theologians America has produced to date, wrote this about identity. Self-understanding is the necessary condition of a sense of self-identity and self-confidence. The peril is great. The complete loss of one's identity is with all propriety of theological definition hell. In diminished form, it is insanity. Let me repeat that provocative insight. The complete loss of one's identity is with all propriety of theological definition hell. It is in diminished forms, it is insanity. So I had always thought I knew who I was when I was a little kid. And my adopted mother would say things a lot like, well, that's not who we are. And of course, in my mind, I'd be like, how do you know who I am? I don't know who I am. So I had a loss of identity. We were all same race, but we weren't anything alike. And anybody that's ever just not had chemistry with somebody, whether it was somebody that wanted to date you or, you know, like you more than a friend, and you were just kind of like, you know, you're a great person, but there's just not anything there, you know, or arranged marriage or something. But everybody around you is telling you, oh no, there's nothing wrong. This is perfectly fine. Eventually you start saying, this is just me. This is me. I'm the problem. Obviously, I mean, my mother didn't want me. And then your brain starts doing the, oh no, she wants me. Obviously she wants me. And then you're back and forth and going a little bit nuts. And until you get answers, you can make up 1,000 stories. It can go back and forth. It can be anything, right? It can be any kind of story because we're filling in gaps. We're trying to fill in something that's missing. And we're not allowed to have it. So that just makes us, a lot of us want it more. I mean, what's behind the locked door? You know, do you want door number 1, door number 2, or number 3? I want to know what's behind all of them, you know? So the identity missing piece became apparent when I met my biological sisters in 2019. I had never heard back from my birth mother, but in 2019, I found her obituary. And for the first time in my life, I saw my sisters' names. So while I was literally bawling my eyes out because my mother was dead, my brain was like, hey, but look, there's names. There's names you need to go back and read. And then I realized that I had always felt like I had sisters, and I did. I really did. It wasn't actually made up. I actually really did know these things. And I found out when we met that we had a whole lot in common. I mean, there were so many synchronicities that I was just like, well, why wasn't I good enough to keep? I'm just like you all. I mean, I even looked like one of them. She ended up rejecting me. So be careful what you wish for, because I'd always wished for someone to look like me. And then they rejected me. So that was a little be careful what you wish for, Lorah, moment for me. But the more I got to know him, the more those layers kept peeling back. And I did know who I was. I really did. I was just told that that wasn't who I was. And I transformed. I became the chameleon, right, for my family, and did what they did. And my biological family had more means and opportunity than my adoptive family. My adoptive family was actually poor. My sisters all had master's degrees. They had all gone to college. I had to go on Pell Grants and student loans, which I still have. I'm not bitter. But yeah, I had to face that reality that everything that everyone had told me was not true. And all of these people I had been told to trust my whole entire life, but I actually knew who I was. So what do you do with that information? Well, when the fog lifted and I realized that the adoption wasn't for my benefit, it was just a convenience issue. You know, my mother couldn't have shame. She was a college student. My biological father was a college student. They did what college students did. But back then it was shamed. It was pure shame. She couldn't go back to her community of the people that she roamed around with, she felt like they would push her out, and she couldn't belong to all the clubs that she belonged to. She owned her, after she put me up for adoption, she did go on to own her own business. She was in like junior leagues, all of these things. She was a prominent member of society. She didn't have addictions. Nope. She didn't have any mental health care issues either, because that was the first thing I asked. Well, you know, how was her mental health? Everybody was like, she never said anything. This is why it's so shocking to us, because they never knew. She never told anybody, never told anyone anything about me, ever. She was the girl that, you know, went to visit her cousin one summer in Tennessee, where I was born. So I had to not only realize that adoption wasn't for my best interest, but it actually truthfully held me back from what my true potential was. And that was a harsh reality. So I kind of lost it. I had a break with reality hard. When I came out of the fog, I spiraled. I didn't know if I was going to make it through. So I figured, well, I'm going to have to figure this out on my own, because I was adopted. So obviously I had to figure it out on my own. But that wasn't working. So luckily I found groups like this, and it saved me when I heard that language. That's what helped me. That's the real thing that started pulling me out, was hearing other people say what I had only thought. But that wasn't enough, because I saved myself, but there was a long path towards integrating the trauma that I was now feeling, because I was a raw nerve. It was just pure exposure of my nervous system. Just everything felt horrible. I mean, not only physically, but mentally. And it was a lot. It was a lot. So one day I'm on Facebook, and I've probably said something to offend a lot of people on as the adopted chameleon, because I was a little angrier back then, and not as, didn't have as much compassion, because I was raw, like I said. So apologies to anybody if I offended y'all back then, sorry. But one of the posts that came up while I was doing my adopted chameleon stuff was, and this was in 2020, one of my, a yoga instructor in town that I know was talking about Kundalini yoga. And I had studied Kundalini yoga. I'd worked with, where I live, the woman that pretty much brought Kundalini yoga to Tulsa. And I'd worked with this woman for almost 7 years. So I had an understanding of it, and because she had introduced me to it. And I knew it was something that worked. I had done it. I could feel the benefit of it, but I'd kind of forgot about it with all of the chaos and everything going on. My brain literally not working, my cognition literally not working. And I was reading this, and it said, become a Kundalini yoga instructor. So I was like, I don't want to be a yoga instructor, but here I am signing up, paying thousands of dollars for this year-long class that I have no intention of doing anything with. So I don't even know why I'm doing it. Literally, I don't. So, but I am one of those people that have always followed my intuition, because it's always gotten me into some really fun things. So I've just learned to trust it all my life until, you know, except for my identity, apparently. I had to believe other people for that, but my intuition kept me going. So I sign up, I start taking the classes. Things are starting to shift and move. I'm getting really sick too. I mean, it is like detoxing me big time. It was not fun sometimes. Some great days it was great, and other days I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of class. But I kept trudging on regardless, because something just kept saying, you just got to keep hanging on. You just got to keep going. Just keep going through, Lorah. That's how you do. Get through it. Don't resist. And then the instructor was saying the same thing. Do your best. Don't resist. Keep going through. You'll find the energy. Go to the breath. And he was repeating things over and over. And about, I don't know, 6 months in, it just went, boop. you know why you're here. You're actually healing yourself. And this is a tool that you can teach other people. That's the whole point of this. That's why you're here. And I was like, whoa, no, I can't be a yoga instructor. So I still fought this, but I kept realizing more and more and more. And at the end of it, I did. I became a yoga instructor. I started doing donation-based yoga because one of the nonprofits here in Tulsa is like a co-sponsor of the instructor that I took. And they gave me a big chunk of money towards my tuition. And they said, the only thing that we ask is that you share this with others. That's it. And I was like, wow. That if that isn't telling you to keep going with it, I don't know what is. Here's money, go do that. So I was like going, wow, okay, yeah, thanks. So I did. And if you've ever been in a class with me, I do trauma informed because I did go back after I had done my original training. I went back and became a trauma informed yoga instructor where I had to study polyvagal theory, the nervous system, the brain, literally how we function with our nervous system. I'm going to share screen again here. So in my yoga classes, that's what I talk about because I know how I transformed. And it was at the cellular level. So I talk about how we're alchemists, how we alchemize to transform ourselves. And that's exactly what Kundalini Yoga does. It works with your nervous system. It works with your breath. It works with every part of your body, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical aspects of your body, because we have multiple bodies that work together. And it's called the yoga of awareness. It makes you more aware of those parts. Some of you all might be familiar with parts therapy, IFS, it's called internal family systems. And that's where a therapist will take you into like a meditative state and say you're feeling angry and you ask that part, can we talk to you and ask you why you're angry? And maybe it's your inner child that wasn't heard. So it's angry. The anger is protecting the inner child. And that's what meditation does. It helps you bring everything together so that you can truly be your authentic self, your highest self, the one that when you resonate the positive energy, the higher vibrations, you literally are giving that to other people around you. I'm sure that you all have walked in some space and you can literally feel something's wrong, something's happened. You don't even have to, you're like, oh, so, yeah, something has definitely happened. That's an energy that we throw off. So being aware of the energy within inside you, how you're resonating, whether it's a lower level energy or a higher level energy, that's not good or bad. I don't want people to punish themselves for going, well, I don't want to be lower level energy. We all go lower level energy sometimes. Sometimes we're sad. That's a lower level energy. That doesn't mean it was the wrong thing to do. You could be sad or you could be angry. Anger motivates us too. And anger is, it's the right emotion many times. So I don't want you to think of that as bad or good. It's just energy. We're energy. So Kundalini Yoga helps us with that. And one of the best ways that I was a marketer in the past. And in marketing, how we sell things is repetition. That's why you'll see ads over and over and over and over and over again. I want to say it's like 47 times you have to see it before it gets in there. Well, yogis knew this thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago before social media and everything else that inundates you with the ads, and marketers use SEOs and everything to fine tune those ads to you. Yogis used to call it a sadhana. They would do these sadhanas and it would be a meditation or an exercise, and they would do them for 40 days. It could be an hour a day, which Back then, they didn't have Netflix. So, that was their Netflix. Nowadays, it's hard to do an hour a day sadhana. I have done them. But I just tell people to try for 11 minutes. If you can do 11 minutes a day of a practice of a meditation, it becomes part of you. Just like if back when I used to work at Whole Foods, when I was marketing manager for Whole Foods Market, my healthy eating coach, she always talked about it takes 28 days for you to go from disliking a food to liking a food. You take a bite of it every single day for 28 days. Again, it's repetition, right? We put it into our mind. Olympic athletes, this is a perfect example. We just had the Olympics. Those people win gold medals because they do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Their muscle memory knows exactly what they're supposed to do, and they become Olympic athletes. And it's really that simple, is doing something every single day. Just like when we have to sleep every day. We should sleep every day. I know some people don't. We should sleep every day. We should eat every day. We should also take care of our mental health every day. So a simple sadhana for 11 minutes a day can make a huge difference. The people that have been in my sadhana classes, I always talk about Kirtan Kriya. It's on the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention website. It shows you how to do it. They promote it because it has been studied and proven to improve your cognition and your mental health. So you can go on to their website, Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, and there's a link there. The yogis would say that it's a form of self-orientation. That was the language that I was taught to use, self-orientation. So it aligns your body, it aligns the chakra system, the energy system. It literally reworks your brain. It creates new neural pathways. You all have probably heard of neuroplasticity. That's what it does. It creates new neural pathways, and it takes the negative self-talk, the belief system that held us back, and it puts in the belief system that we want, that we are worthy, that we're all loved. It puts that back in there. Those are mantras. You can say those to yourself for a 40-day sadhana in a meditation. I am worthy. I am loved. I am strong. Whatever it is, you can make up your own mantra. Some people think yoga is too wishy-washy and voodoo mumbo jumbo and stuff because of a lot of the Sanskrit words, because they are confusing and sometimes hard to say, and I admit that. But it goes to very basic principles like repetition, like you literally have to show up for yourself to create these new neural pathways. Like I was talking about being an alchemist, you change yourself on the cellular level every time you do this. And if it's not yoga for you, there's things like Tai Chi, Qigong. There's also, if you want to kickbox or do boxing, that one will be pushing out more fear-based. It's going to be a lot of core work, but at some point, try meditation, go a little bit slower. And mine is not just sitting there being quiet. We do moving meditations too. As a matter of fact, let's come off of here and let's check in with everybody. See how everybody's doing. I've been sitting here talking for a while, and I actually want to show you how simple it is to take your brain and I know y'all have been there on social media and you just want to come through the screen at somebody and you're reactive. You're reactive, right? Because they're triggering something and you're like, oh, yeah, I've been there. It's okay. We're humans. We can forgive ourselves, give ourselves a little grace, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to react because number one, that takes your cognition offline. You're pretty much back here in your reptilian brain. You're in the brain that's just reacting. Your sympathetic nervous system's going off. We don't want to be doing that. We want to respond with grace. And if we're going to speak to one another, we don't know them from a comment, right? This might be the first time they've ever read anything. It might be, they may not know what they don't know. Now, if they're calling you names, say whatever you want to say, block them, whatever, but still respond with grace. So to do that, let's just sit up our chairs. Sit up tall, drop those shoulders back, stack the spine, And we're going to take 10 seconds and we're going to do approximately 3 breaths. That's about 10 seconds. And we're just going to notice how we feel right now. Just everybody check in with yourself. If you feel like closing your eyes, if you're safe in that space, go ahead and close your eyes and just do a body scan. Kind of check in with yourself. See how you're feeling. What are you aware of? Okay, so you've got that in your mind now. Now let's take 3 breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Long intentional breaths. Let's do that again. One more. And now just sit in this space for a second. And now check in with yourself again. Are you a little calmer? Do you feel like maybe I can just breathe and I don't have to react this moment? I can take a pause for myself, take care of myself. Yeah, because if we don't, like they say, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And that's true. You do. You have to take care of you first, because if you don't, no one's going to do it for you. You've got to do it for you. And that's the most loving thing you can do for the people around you. Because when you are, like I said, when you're high vibing and you're that highest self, having your purpose and feeling good, you can send that out to others. You can be their support. So I want to show you just, let's see, what time are we at here? Yeah, okay, I've got a minute. So I'm going to show you something that you can do, because a lot of us sit in chairs all day at our office, or even if we're not, I just want to show you something really quick that you can do to help your nervous system. So I'm going to sit on my chair. Let's see if you can see me. There you go. Now you can see me. I'm sitting up. My chin is parallel to the floor. When I inhale, I'm going to push that belly button forward, and I've got an arch in my back. So I'm inhaling, and then when I exhale, I pull that belly button and I'm concaved. And you just do this. Try it a few times, just back and forth. Just move your spine. This is a basic Kundalini yoga move. It's one you can do in your chair. You can put a bolster on the floor. You can sit in the floor and do this. But this is activating your nervous system. And we don't do these movements often, right? So this is just a simple one. We can activate our nervous system. And this, doing things like this simple exercise, you could do 1 to 3 minutes a day, keeping your mind calm as you're looking forwards. Your eyes are just soft. Don't focus hard. Just go soft with the eyes. And you can do this 1 to 3 minutes. And then 1 minute of just something this simple can take those bad habits into the new habits that we want, those new neural pathways, those new thoughts. And it can actually get you from just being stuck and stagnant to moving your energy. We want that nervous system to not be like stuck and tight. That one also works with the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. The root is your safety and security. Your sacral is where your creativity is, your joy. And then the solar plexus is your fire. That's your personal power. It's very important to have a strong core, because if you don't, that's where fear likes to reside. So having a strong core for adoptees or anyone that's had trauma is very, very important, as well as the root chakra, because you want to feel safe. Because when you feel safe, you can start thriving, right? Great. Well, I think this is probably about the time you said that we would be taking questions. Okay, yep, I see the heads up. Yeah, okay.
Yes, go ahead. Feel free to raise your virtual hand, and ask away. Who'd like to go first?
Okay, I see some things in the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
I've been seeing a lot on these somatic yoga or somatic exercises. Is that similar to the Kundalini yoga, or how does that work?
Well, somatic is honestly any exercise that you're doing with your body to become more in tuned with the body. So dancing would be a somatic exercise. All yoga would be a somatic exercise. Boxing would be a somatic exercise. It's the new buzz term.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. But it's a real thing. I don't want to belittle the word because
No, because you did answer, it's not a specific set of exercises is what I was wondering. It's an umbrella for many different type. Because I do know, oh heck, I used to do yoga all the time, and I had a doctor tell me that I needed to stop and do more cardio. And I lost a lot of flexibility when I always regretted listening to that doctor. But just the simple exercises you had us do, I was like, oh man, I need to work that into my day. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
just a few minutes each day. Because I know everybody's busy. Ain't nobody got time for that, right?
Yeah.
I get that. I get it. I'm a yoga instructor, and there are days I'm just like, oh, I don't have time. But I know if I don't take care of my mental health, even if I only have 15 minutes one day, I don't do an hour every day. I'm going to be honest. Some days I just don't have time. But take 15 minutes for yourself. Just 15 minutes, even if it's just a silent meditation or a short walk out in nature, just something to take care of your mental health.
Thank you for clearing that up. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel better that I didn't invest in a book or DVDs on that. That's like, I know what it means now. Thank you. Great presentation tonight.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I have a question.
All right.
Okay, I'm a big walker.
Yeah.
And I try to walk a mile every morning and a mile every evening. And that's been 2 years now. So my question is, what can I incorporate in my walking? Is there any type of exercise that I can do while I'm walking?
Yes. When you are out walking, I want you to start becoming extremely aware of how your body feels. Like, how is the sun feeling on your skin? Does the wind blow? What are the smells around you? Look at nature. Also switch your locations when you walk, because that can create new neural pathways. When you're looking at different scenery, that one, because I know I get stuck in my own little loop, and then I have to get in the car and go take myself to a different place to walk. But that will help with new neural pathways. That is called more moving meditation, when you're being more intentional about the space around you and becoming more aware of it, and just become one with nature too. Just take it all in. Hopefully you're walking someplace nice and peaceful and you get a little peace out there. Yeah,
there's a special place that I've started going to in the last 6 months where I get obviously sun, and it's not all level. There's a little bit of, and there's water, there's the geese. There's just everything there that I love. So I was just wondering what else I could incorporate into that, because that's what I do.
That's mindfulness. Yeah, just being more mindful. Yeah. Oh, and I did want to add, I'm going to type this in the chat. Everyone that's here, I'm giving you a code for a free class. So you can try Kundalini Yoga for free, because I want everyone to at least experience it. If it's something you don't like, that is fine. No obligation. You all do not have to, you don't have to be obligated to continue with me. You can do your own thing, but I want you to try it, and you can use this code. Make sure I typed it right. Yes, it's just free class, one word, lowercase, all one word. Go to my website. I have classes on Wednesday and Sunday at 11 a.m. and that's Central Time. So just go to lorahgerald.com. You'll see on the tab. Well, actually, I think I even have it on the front screen, but there's a classes and merchandise tab. In the classes, you can go in there and under Kundalini Yoga, it's in there. There's a Sunday class and there's a Wednesday class. You can pick whichever one you want, whenever you want, because this code isn't going to expire. So if you don't get around to it next week, that's fine. I'm actually going to be at Cub, not this Sunday, next Sunday. So I won't be there. So don't use it that day. Lorah, you're going to be there? Oh, good. I'll get to meet you. Fabulous. So, but I won't be teaching that Sunday, but usually I'm there. Oh, Anne, yay. I'll get to see you again. Yay. Yeah. So anyway, I hope some of you all take me up on that. I'd love to see you in class.
Okay, who has the next question? Or comment or statement? You guys are quiet tonight. Oh, Andrea, New Zealand.
Yes, New Zealand.
Yeah, we've got adoptees down under too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
My question is about motivation and to get started, because I used to do all these things, not Kundalini. I did have a go with Kundalini, but I found it a bit too vigorous, I'd have to say, because I've had a lower back issue. And so, but anyway, I went on and developed like major health problems like cancer and things like that. And so I'm coming back from that, but I just feel like I'm an absolute couch potato. My motivation is very, very low. Even walking is too much. What would be a good way to get started? Excuse me, and to be able to keep going as well, not stop, start.
Okay, thank you. That's a really good question. And I do want to preface that I am a trauma-informed Kundalini yoga instructor. So I teach a little bit differently than like some traditional Kundalini yoga instructors, but like my teacher, he's 70 years old and he can still just, his classes, I'm like panting on the floor sometimes, depending upon what it is. But mine are different than that. I give alternatives to things you can do. And everything is paced for you. It's your routine. And I remind you that throughout. You're not there doing what I need to do. You know what you need to do. But motivation, and I was just talking to my therapist about this today, so kind of funny that you brought this up. Motivation doesn't happen before the action. Motivation happens during the action. And this was something that I had noticed because I had motivation issues too. I'd always be like, oh, I have so much to do. And I don't want to do it. And I kept thinking, well, how do I get motivated? And it comes by just doing it, by sometimes just flipping your brain off and just starting to move. You just move, just start doing something, even if it's just jumping up and down, just to shake the nervous system up a little bit, put on a song you like, start dancing. That one always gets me going. If I am having a day where I'm like, I do not want to work out today, I'll put on a song that I like that just kind of gets me moving. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, we're moving. Let's just keep going, flip on a video or just do whatever you want to do. I also like to do multiple things. I don't do just yoga. One of my other favorite things is I have an Oculus, one of those virtual reality headsets. Oh, Lorah has one too. Yep. I do Supernatural. It's a workout. Oh my God, it's so fun. But I do that. So I don't always have to do, I even have like little light weights because, weightlifting helps your muscles too, as well as lengthening. Your muscles need both. We need a little bit of everything. The repetition comes with, doing yoga routines, and instructors will have certain kriyas that are the same each time or similar. They'll work the nervous system in the same way. So that's where you get that repetition in. If you really, really, really just want to start something, do a sadhana. You can message me. I can help you with this. And just try it 1 minute a day for 40 days. Get yourself going. But you can message me. I will help you out with that sadhana. Oh, Kim?
Sorry, I look so ghastly. My light is down here. I'm working on something while I'm listening. I just want to vouch for Lorah. I have been taking yoga classes with her for almost 3 years straight. It is subtly life-changing. It's not going to fix everything magically, but I feel like it has really calmed my nervous system. If I don't want to get out of bed on a Sunday or a Wednesday, it's the only thing that will get me up. And she can tell you about that.
Yes,
sometimes I show up in my pajamas.
And you can do yoga in your pajamas. So yes, that is completely acceptable.
You can. Yeah. It's a great class. She's a really good instructor. She's gentle. She's, it puts I feel like you put your students first. You're getting something out of it, obviously, because you're teaching it, but checking on everybody. I will catch you like looking at the screen to make sure everybody's moving properly and, just to check in with everybody. I don't know. I couldn't stick with yoga before doing this. And now I feel like, okay, I get it. I get what yoga is about. So I just wanted to put in a word. It's hard to get started with something new, especially when it's a little bit like, ooh, what's that? Is that going to do anything? What does this mean? Is it hard? It's really not. You do what you can handle. There are certain movements that I can do that others can't do, and vice versa. Like anything on the belly with the back, I have to modify because I can't arch my back that much.
And we talked about that modification.
Yeah, it's a really, I love it. I'm glad that it's worth it to me. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Kim. That was not a paid endorsement, by the way.
No.
Thank you so much, Kim. You brought tears to my eyes.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Hey,
Thank you, Kim. Shelley.
Hey, Larry. I can also vouch that she's an awesome yoga instructor. I've been to a bunch of her classes. I got away from it a little bit and need to get back. And I can tell you, yoga is just so healing. I coincidentally started going right when I started my adoption search journey, and it helped me hugely during that whole search. And Lorraine's inspiration has made me decide to go and become a yoga instructor as well.
Yay!
Something that she can do it. I've always thought about it and thought, I can't do this. I can't do that. I just have to be go to class. I could never do that. So you inspired me to say, no, I can do that.
You can do that. Oh my God. Thank you, Shelley, for letting me know that. That's beautiful. And congratulations. You're going to be great.
Thank you, Shelley. Anybody else?
Another question. Do you have any recordings? Just at that time of the day is about 4 a.m. in the morning here. And so do you have any other time or any other times of the day that you would be doing it? Thanks.
I do have a Patreon group, and I have a lot of videos on there, and I add them in pretty much once a month because they have a space constraint. But there's probably like 20 videos in there, and they're anything from like 20 to the hour long videos. I also have meditations in there. I do offer private classes too. So I know the time difference is a little off there, but that is an option. I would highly recommend going on YouTube. There are some really good instructors on YouTube. So there's videos there. I'm trying to think of, there's one called Refuel Yoga. That group has a lot of Kundalini yoga in it. Yoga with Adrienne, she's got some Kundalini yoga, but I put those on all the time. There's some good instructors, and I can just do it right in my office right here where I do mine, and I can do it whenever I want. That's the thing about Zoom yoga. A lot of people are like, well, I don't get the same experience as I would in studio. And I understand some people really like studios. I teach retreats and things and conferences, and I've taught at local studios all around here. And it's different, but honestly, I like them both, because if my anxiety's high, I may not want to be in a studio, and I can be more comfortable in my own space that I've created that day for me. So videos, yeah, I would recommend the videos.
They're not necessarily trauma informed though, are they? Like what you're doing?
You could, I'm sure, Adrienne seems like she's probably trauma informed. I don't know if she specifically says it. The refill is going to be a little bit faster. He definitely is, well, and he's a male instructor too, so he moves a little quicker. Those are the days when I'm pushing the fear out and sweating a lot. But I would just do like restorative yoga, yin yoga, do an easy Kundalini, but you could type in trauma-informed Kundalini and see what pops up.
Okay. What was the
reference? Refill, it's REFEEL. Yeah, refill.
What was the reference where you've got your classes recorded and the meditation? What was that word that you said?
Patreon. Here.
Patreon. Are you able to put that in the chat? Thanks.
Let me make sure I spelled it right. Yes, let me find my Patreon page for you, but that's what I'm talking about. It's subscription based, kind of like YouTube. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Okay, Peter, you're next, and then Diana. Diana, you want to go while Peter took his call?
Yeah, take a call.
Hi.
Hey, Diana.
Hi, nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you.
I have a question. I have severe childhood scoliosis. I've been battling it since I was 10. I wore a brace for 4 years of my life. I was told I couldn't have children. I do have one. And I was told I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 60. That didn't happen, but I did a lot of sports when I was younger and stuff like that. I tore up my knees. I've had knee replacement. But the problem is I have rheumatoid arthritis in the bottom of my feet. So I started swimming about a year ago, and I do it more now, 3-4 times a week at the Y. I do laps, 30 to 45 minutes.
Wow.
Before I was, they tried steroids, and I gained a lot of weight because they put steroids on me for 3 years. I was getting steroids like all the time. I don't do those anymore. So since I can't walk like Marcie, she could walk. I wish I could do walks like that. I can't because it's very painful for me. The swimming, I'm really good about sticking to it. I also started doing some PT. What would type of yoga be beneficial for me too, since I can't take the long walks, even though I'm swimming a lot? I mean, I'm swimming a lot. It's still not enough.
Yes. Yes, I actually do a few exercises that are specifically for the sciatica nerve because my husband had scoliosis. So I'm familiar with scoliosis, and I have arthritis in different, one in my hand, my feet. So I have some in my feet too. And it actually helps me a lot by staying flexible, and lengthen the exercises I do. Let's try to talk. They kind of just do a light, gentle stretch of the sciatic nerve. It's nothing jerking or jarring or pushing it too much. It's more of just your own body. It's isometric. It's like your own body is like you'll be pulling your head down and stretching your body, but you're not adding weight or anything to it. It's isometric. It's your own body. strengthening the muscles. So and if you do that many laps, yeah, this would just be like stretching
Yeah,
out
I
those.
am. I'm anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes,
Yeah,
at least 3 times a week. I'm in a little
that's
challenge
great.
now, so I have to push it a little bit more to get this challenge done.
Well,
But
come join us for a class.
yeah, I
You got
will.
the
I
code, see
will.
if you like it, and if it's good for you, and if not,
Yeah.
hey, you got a free class.
Yeah. Well, I used to walking is great. I just wish I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is great. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
World's biggest procrastinator here. Yeah, I'm thinking about what you're saying. When I was 11 and 12, I was really into judo, and a lot of the sensei everything was started with meditation, and I really haven't done it since. And I find I have difficulty relaxing.
Okay.
Although I was relaxed over at Louisville, but I'm always guarded. I have difficulty relaxing. So, yeah, interested. Yeah, this goes back a long way, and I don't know if I can share a screen or not, but I've never shared this photo before, but it's similar to the photo that you had.
Oh, yeah.
If I can do it, I'll see if it allows me to.
The perspective.
Oh, can the host give me permission or not? No, okay. I don't know if we can. It doesn't look like I can. But yeah, very much the photo. You've got the two adoptive parents with these, loving eyes, and me sitting there with this stare of, what the hell am I doing here? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're strangers to us at that point, and
Yep.
they, as much, and love's great, but the baby doesn't know because they're strangers, and our nervous systems are there to protect us. So that preverbal trauma literally does change our nervous system and our neural pathways at an early age. And so we can work it back with practice. It takes repetition. I mean, especially if we've gone years and 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 have never done anything to try to work with it. It takes some time, but it takes being gentle and doing it at the pace that you're comfortable with too. Everybody, when I say I do meditations in there, they're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to sit there because I can't calm my brain. But we're going to be doing meditations by chanting, by moving. We're going to give you something to do. As a matter of fact, this one's a real easy one. You just take your left hand, wrap your right around it, put your thumbs up, and you stare at your thumbs. And that way your brain has something to do. Your eyes just go really soft and just stare at your thumbs, drop your shoulders back. You're sitting up straight, your arms are out. And that's a meditation. If your mind starts wandering, the to-do list or whatever, just let it pass on by. Don't latch onto it. Oh yeah, I need to do that. Let me add that to the to-do list. You train yourself, and it's not easy to do. I still, after all these years, sit down, my brain's like crazy. I got to do this, I got to do that. But because I've done it so many times, once I go, no, we're going to, this is our time to sit down for ourselves. We're going to put everything else aside. This is your 10, 15 minutes, whatever. And then I get my body into the position. I start with, my feet on the floor, my shoulders down, my spine straight. So my body starts knowing, okay, this is our time. This is our space to do this. Just like on the to-do list, this is on the to-do list. So we can calm our mind down. And that repetition that I was talking about will allow you to do that. Your body actually prepares for it.
Yeah, I just want to bring up here. I put in the comments I identify as I identify as Australian Aboriginal, as a Camilleroy man, and in our culture, going back to country is very important. And I was speaking to an activist in the Aboriginal community. And the first time he saw me and said, "Sit down and tell me about yourself." And I told him the story, and he said, "Oh, you're one of my mob," which means you're one from our tribe. And he said, "You need to go back to country. He said, you need to go and camp out overnight by yourself." He said, "and the land will talk to you." I haven't done that, but I intend to do it. And yeah.
If you do that, I want you to let me know how that goes, because that sounds beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I'm
Thank you,
really
Peter.
enjoying your talk.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Peter. Good to see you. Okay, do we have any more questions, comments? Show of hands. See a virtual hand go up? No?
They did mention in the chat, Brett Larkin. Yes, she's wonderful. And I do believe she's trauma informed too on YouTube.
Okay. No last minute questions?
All right.
Okay, Lorah, would you like to leave us with some closing comments or some words of wisdom before I close out?
Well, just give yourself grace. If you're not feeling motivated, just give yourself the grace that you deserve, because you're doing the best you can. We're all trying to do the best that we can, right? And we don't know what we don't know. So be open to new things, to trying some new things. The motivation will come, like I said, in the action. And just do put your mental health, something for you every day. It's important. Self-love isn't selfish. Self-love is the best way to love others. Loving yourself is loving others. So make sure, love yourself. Thank yourself for doing the hard things. Take those celebratory moments. So I did 5 minutes of yoga, pat yourself on the back, jump up and down, do whatever, but take that moment to celebrate yourself for doing a hard thing. It doesn't matter if most people think it's just a teeny tiny thing. It doesn't matter. Celebrate it. Celebrate all the fun things in life, and the hard things, celebrate those even harder.
Beautiful. Great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I tell you, I really enjoyed having you on this evening. I took a lot of notes here. You gave me some great ideas, and I personally am going to implement a lot of this too. And I would like to reclass it and see what that's all about. So it's really exciting. So thank you so much, and we appreciate everything you do for the adoption community.
Thank you all.
You have helped so many of us across the globe. So thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. And we appreciate you being on Happy Hour. And we would like to give you our hands up, everybody, our signature round of applause for Lorah.
Yay!
For her
I feel
episode.
the love.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to remind everybody we will be back on October the 4th with Melanie Faith Bonner. She's a transracial adoptee, and she'll be sharing her story with us on the 4th. So you want to mark your calendars for that. That's Melanie Faith Bonner. Okay, that's all from me. I don't know, Beth, do you have anything to add?
You might want to look at your chat. Anne has just shared a link about a show that is going to be on tonight about Korean adoption.
Awesome.
So if you can click on that link, and that will, if it opens up, then when you get out of the chat and out of the Zoom call, you should be able to get into that.
Wonderful.
So,
thanks, Beth.
Yeah. And I'll see some of y'all at Cub next week. I hope I see you in class too.
Well, thank you. Thanks again so much. And great to see everybody this evening. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see a lot of you back on October 4th. That's a wrap from NAAP. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Love and kisses.
bye, everyone.
Bye.
That was great. I really enjoyed her.
So do you have
Good
to work on
stuff.
Fridays or what's, oh, let's stop the,
Yeah. I thought it was harmless tonight because she went right into the questions. There wasn't a place for me to professionally break. Hang on a second.